Hey everybody, welcome to Top 10 Thursday on the Leek. I'm John as always, and it's been a while since I've gotten one of these lists out. I was feeling unwell and then moving from my apartment to a house, but I'm settled in now and I'm ready to start pumping these out again. I'll loop back to the top 10 Hour of Devastation art in a month or two when Ixalan stuff settles down, but I couldn't miss the traditional top 10 Hour of Devastation cards I was wrong about in my set review. Up first at number 10 is Oketra's Avenger. I wasn't too wrong about this, but I thought I was overrating it because of my well-documented love of 3/1s for 1 and a white. I gave it a C+ and thought I was being biased, but no, it was just really good and a lot more like a B-. At number 9 is Ominous Sphinx. I gave it a C+, saying that the cycling deck didn't look like it was going to happen, but saying that the stats were fine. I still feel I was basically right about everything there. I just underrated just how good a 4/4 flyer for 5 can be. It was far more like a B, and even though the cycling deck rarely came together, getting a couple of incidental triggers off this could really ruin an opponent's day. Sand Strangler comes in at number 8. A few cards will be showing up that I underrated because I wasn't too sure about how often you'd have deserts in your deck. It turns out that ideally you have a bunch. I gave Sand Strangler a C+ originally, and unfortunately that's how it's acted for me quite a lot, as I would frequently get it a little bit late and simply never get enough deserts for it to be on. But it was definitely first pickable, and with the deserts that you generally had on average, it's just a solid all-around B. Tenacious Hunter is number 7. I gave it a C+ originally, thinking that it wouldn't be online too often due to black-green counters being somewhat locked away in a single Amonkhet pack. Turns out there still was just enough counters running around for this to be basically always on. And even off, it was still very efficient. Much more of a B. If this was in Amonkhet, it would have been even better. At number 6 is Unquenchable Thirst. Again, a victim of the will you have enough deserts concern. Without enough deserts, this isn't the best. We've seen this effect before, and it just misses a little bit too much. But as we found out, you'll often have enough deserts that this is a 2-mana nigh-on unconditional removal. Not the C I gave it. Much more of a B. At number 5 is Hour of Devastation. I was pretty off on this one, feeling that a 5-mana, not quite unconditional board wipe for 3 red just wasn't what red would be looking for. I gave it a D+, saying that if you could maybe build around it, it could do some work. Turns out that the format slowed down just enough for this to be fairly solid, though I still stand by this not being that slow of a format that some people do describe it as. Much more of a B, though you still have to build with it in mind rather than pop it in every single red deck. Not hitting some bigger threats like hippos and scaled behemoths is definitely still a problem, though. Number 4 was the overrated Overcome. Obviously, this looked a lot like Overrun right out of the gate, and it had me terrified. I gave it a B, assuming that losing a power and some mana would still make it great. It still is a serious game winner, but I find in draft you just can't often get the board state really needed for this to end the game reliably. Between the aggro decks still being Amonkhet fast and the slow decks having toughness to block, this just didn't get there remotely as often as I had hoped. In Sealed, it's still terrifying, but draft it felt more like a C or even a C-. At number 3, we have Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs. It took me a while to come around on this because while it does technically block, you can't just play one of these and say, aha, I'm the slow deck, and I can block forever, because there's still enough creatures that'll plow right through this, go over it, or decks that simply slam a creature into this while its friends go around the sides. But it's a good step in that direction, and again, with generally having enough deserts for this to be a pinger, and even dumb combos like using the Dauntless Aven with this to double ping, this is not the D+ that I started it at, and it's much more around a C+. God Pharaoh's Gift is a card that I was super hesitant about, and it comes in at number 2. I gave it a D+, though I did state that if you built around it, and if you could get it out, it would probably do some serious work. Now again, I'm still hesitant on this in a draft just because casually getting to turn 7 and later isn't something that you can just plan on always doing, but it's not quite as difficult as I expected it to be. In Sealed, this is a bomb, and it was part of my my playoff, not winning, but playoff making deck that I didn't quite think would get there with a whole bunch of zombie synergy. Knowing that this is coming, you can readily trade chump block with your creatures, play creatures into wraths, etc., knowing that they'll come back as 4/4 zombies. Ultimately, this is much more like a B- or so. Again, you just can't assume that you're going to get to turn 7 and later, but in a slower format, it would be more of a B or B+. Finally, at number 1 is Razaketh. I gave Razaketh an A, but with the caveat, like God Pharaoh's Gift, that boy do you need to build around this carefully, because getting to turn 8 is often a pipe dream in even the slowest of formats. But if you got it out, I figured you'd basically have that game. Turns out no, Razaketh just doesn't readily, easily stabilize the game, and if you're that late in the game without having done much, you're probably so close to dead that he's just not going to do anything for you. Combined with the ridiculous casting cost, and Razaketh was not an A, he was basically an unplayable F. In the entire format, I think I played against him exactly once. It was at the pre-release, and I won that game. So Razaketh, not an A. I'm sorry. So that's going to wrap it up for the top 10 cards that I was most wrong about in my Hour of Devastation set review. Let me know what cards you think I was wrong about in my set review. Let me know what cards you were wrong about in your various reviews or initial evaluations of the cards. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at the Mana Leek. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can also find me at facebook.com/themanaleek, twitch.tv/themanaleek, and patreon.com/themanaleek. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button, click subscribe if you want to see more and you haven't already. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.